IVM.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Positively Unlimited podcast. And I'm back this Monday with a very big obstacle to climb over. One that all of us are being blocked by and some of us are being paralyzed by many times in one single day. It's 3 words. But what if? All the ideas that have been buried in the back of some drawer in your office, all the thoughts and dreams that you have buried under your pillow, locked away desires in your cupboard, only because but what if became too loud. Well, in today's episode, I'm sharing a perspective on it, and I'm also giving you a tool to overcome it. A very close friend of mine told me something very interesting one day. She said that when nothing is sure, everything is possible. So here's the duality with but what if. All of us say those words and we think about all the negative things. But what if this happens? But what if I can't do that? But what if this doesn't work out in my favor? But what if he or she doesn't say this to me? But what we forget is there's another but what if. But what if everything goes in my favor? But what if everything works out exactly the way I want it to? But what if I receive everything that I am working towards? But what if is one half of the coin, and the other side has another but what if? Why is it that all of us can think of the negative stuff and not the positive angles? Why is it that it's so easy for us to think about how things may not happen for us, but we find it so hard to shift our focus and just believe for once that things will happen exactly as they are meant to? Well, one of the reasons is that we were built to survive. Yes, I'm talking about the human body and the human brain, which means the brain to keep you safe and secure and to ensure that you don't face any physical, intellectual, or emotional damage will show you the negative side first. So the first set of but what ifs you will get will be negative. Now, what happens if I embrace these? What happens if I talk to my mind and say, okay, fair enough, all of this is possible, right? And how do you do that? Once again, take a piece of paper and make a list of all these negative but what ifs. Now, once you've written down all these negative but what ifs, it's out of your system. And I'll tell you this, once you write it down, there will be space in your mind. There will be an emptiness that you feel within. There will be some kind of room in your breath. That's the moment you start writing all the positive things that can also happen. So you write a list of but what if this is possible? And once you've made these lists, you want to look at both of them and choose, yes, consciously choose, which one are you going to focus on. Another thing that happens when you write down the negative but what if list is that you get a sense of all the obstacles that you think are standing in your way. So you also want to look at that list and mark out the ones that are valid and the ones that are just a figment of your imagination. So the ones that are valid, your next step is to look at it and say, okay, this is really a possibility and it's already happening. What can I do about it? Is there a way around it, or can it be resolved in some manner? So you've gone from sitting in a paralyzed state with but what if weighing down on your head and chest into action mode and thinking about what you can do to move on. Well, talking about moving on, that's exactly what I have spoken of in my previous episode if you haven't heard last week's episode. So when you are done with this one, you want to tune back to that one and listen, because there is a tip in there on how you can move on from things that may be blocking your path. So you look at that negative list and you mark the things that are valid, and then you think about how to work around them. As for the things that you're worrying about because, well, that's what you do, that's a habit you have, well, in that scenario, Look at the positive list that you have made and choose to focus on something from that list. Don't try to eliminate the worry. Instead, increase the volume of belief. Yes, that's what we need to do. Always remember one thing. When you reject a thought, when you resist an emotion, it only becomes more powerful. Because darkness grows and feeds on darkness. So instead, whatever that thought is, whatever that feeling is, that is pulling you down, that you have labeled as negative, well, look at it and say, okay, I acknowledge that you are here, and yes, that you may be a possibility, but I am choosing to believe in something else. And then you turn up the volume of that belief. But what if is a game the mind plays to keep us safe. You can't blame the mind because it's doing exactly what it was built to do. But the human system has also been given ways, tools, mindsets to counter it. So in a way, our mind can counter its own self. So use it. Now, doesn't that sound like a bit of a superpower? If you want to listen to more episodes, if you want more tips, ideas, tools, tricks, life hacks, well, there are a whole bunch of episodes on the IVM Podcast app. The Positively Unlimited podcast is slowly inching towards its 100th episode. So you want to tune in and listen to all the previous ones. And if you really like any of them, or if something really makes a difference to you, or if you want me to talk about a topic that has been bothering you, something that I can help with, well, connect with me on Instagram. My handle is PositivityAngel. So until next Monday, I hope you are able to overcome every hurdle that you title as "But What If?"
Hey, this is Shridaditya.
And I'm Amit Doshi.
And we host Shunya One.
It's a really fun podcast where we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the country.
Yes, talking about everything from their startup challenges to what they're building and all the future of technologies right here.
So catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to your podcast from.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!